Good morning, everybody. This is Laura with Stuff I Find Interesting, and that is Eye of the Tiger medieval cover by Middle Ages. It will be in the links so that you can listen to the whole thing. They have lots of fun stuff. We've got Daft Punk, 1 hour of medieval Daft Punk, hardcore party mix. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. So we have a lot to talk about today. Lots of interesting things. This is episode 56. And I've noticed that my production has slipped slightly. And that's probably an extension of my not great attitude these days about life and stuff. So I'm trying to work on that. Trying to provide you with a better experience such that it is. So we're going to start off by talking about that 476,000 or 500,000 year old structure, which was found in Zambia, which predates the emergence of Homo sapiens. And again, to revisit last week's episode, archaeologists found 2 logs, almost 500,000 years old. The logs had been notched on the top and on the bottom, and were sitting on top of each other. So it could have been part of a larger structure. It could have been something that someone just sat on to go fishing. So let's see.
Colombo Falls made an unexpected archaeological discovery. They found wood preserved underneath the river, which would then turn out to be almost 500,000 years old.
So it was preserved because of the silicates in the sand, so it filled in and basically fossilized this wood.
Not just any old wood that had been worked by humans, including the remains of what looks to be...
Well, maybe not humans.
...known in the world. In this short video, I'd like to show you the excavations, take you through some...
So this is Professor Larry Barham from the University of Liverpool's Department of Archaeology, and he breaks it down a little more. So if you found that interesting, like I did, you can go back and you can learn a little bit more about it. Also furthering in last week's vein and continuing with a little bit about Antarctica. Oh, we're not there. We're not on Antarctica yet. We're almost on Antarctica. Let's skip forward and go to Antarctica, the Antarctica story. Iran declares Antarctica their property rights in direct challenge to Biden and global treaty. So this actually happened last fall. This hasn't happened recently. It probably popped up in my news because I keep saying Antarctica, and the AI goes, oh, we're going to provide her with lots of stories about that. But it's interesting. And it talks about the $6 billion in Iranian funds, blah, 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 blah. And they said that cannot be used for any activities in Antarctica. We have property rights in the South Pole. We have planned to raise our flag there and carry out military and scientific work. Now, last time we noticed that Antarctica is all divvied up already, like the pie is already cut. So for Iran to come in, they would have to sort of piggyback with someone else. So this week, this came out in this week's news. It was very exciting. Stone Age megastructure found submerged in the Baltic Sea wasn't formed by nature. So in the Baltic Sea, and let's show you what the Baltic Sea looks like. Oh, I didn't save it. I'll show you in a minute. In the Baltic Sea, they found these rocks that stretch for about a mile, 1,670 stones to be exact. And what they discovered is there would be a lot of little stones put together and then a big boulder on sort of a corner where it would sort of change direction slightly. So there would be straight stones, a boulder, change slightly. Here we have a representation of what that might have looked like. And what this structure was from 10,000 years ago, it was a hunting blind. Hunters would chase their reindeer or their prey down this hunting blind, and it would cause the animals to sort of go into a bottleneck where they could be picked off in the water or on land, or just a more efficient way to hunt. Now, the thing that I found funny, and the reason why I'm bringing this up, is because you juxtapose this with the 500,000-year-old structure, and this is 11,000 years old. What happened in between? Oh. If we look, this is an example. This is something that I just wanted to show you as an example. When I say what happened in between, This is Doggerland. This was all land, this whole area. So there were people walking around, living, having babies, building houses, farming, maybe doing advanced technology. Who knows? But then all of this got flooded and all of this is underwater. So I think it really behooves us to kind of start looking underwater a little bit more, because there's a lot to be found. If we look at the Baltic Sea, this whole big ass thing is the Baltic Sea. It's huge. Huge, huge, huge. Let me do it better. Let me go to Google Earth. Google Earth, by the way, changed the way they show things on the map. Things don't look quite the same. I don't know how to explain it, but I think they got mad that everybody's on Google Earth looking for like hidden stuff, and so they revamped the AI. I don't know. This is the Baltic Sea. It's huge. We got Hamburg, Germany. Over here we got St. Petersburg. Up here we got Oulu, Stockholm. It's massive. Massive. Actually, that's the Gulf of Bothnia. We're going to have to look into that in a future time. I just think there's a lot more to be found. This is a piece of artwork that I found this week. I like to look at art in addition to archaeology. And I just felt at the moment that I looked at this, that this guy captured my mood of just sort of sitting there and staring off into space. This is Cardinal Antiato Pallavicini. I completely massacred his name. It's right there. He became a pope. I didn't really find out anything terribly interesting about him other than this fantastic painting. You can see this background here where they have the trees and the clouds and mountains and stuff. That was pretty typical of the paintings that they did of the day. There would be a portrait and there would be things around them. You can see here we have the Roman column, sort of a nod to our intellectual roots. Now I'm going to show you some archaeology, and I want you to think in your head where this might be. So I have a cat, so I'm leaning down to pet my cat. Hi, Shibbles. It's my cat, Shibbles. She's a tiny little black cat. She doesn't come out really like the other one. She probably wants me to take a nap so she can lay on me. So this is, we can see we have everybody up here kind of looking down. Let's keep going. Let's look at some other stuff. This is a house, or what used to be a house. This is the front part of it. We can see the fancy doors. Here we have an entire city. You're coming up over a hill, and you see this before you. This is the underground chamber of one of these structures that I'm showing you. I think it might be this one. You can see it's been filled in, probably to try to keep people out, because it's not the same. This does not look the same as the surrounding stuff. Here we have another place. We can see we have older stuff combined with newer stuff. It looks like they tried to rebuild it. This is a whole castle. And we can see it looks like the entire hillside has been adapted somehow. I couldn't really find anything on this, but I didn't look too hard. Here's another picture. This might give it away. By now you're probably like, oh, this is the Middle East. And you would be right. Another picture of the castle, the other side, but we can see the two little mosques. They're probably tombs. They're probably mosque tombs. There's a special name for them. I forget what it is, but you can see that's different than the other stuff. And some of this has been subsumed by a river that wasn't there when it was built. Here we have a guy hanging out in the doorway. Here's our last picture. So these are pictures from Syria. Now, Syria doesn't get a whole lot of attention in terms of archaeology, simply because it's too dangerous to go there. You can't go there. You can't really go there and do work, not meaningful work anyway, not in the areas that need to be or should be looked at. And a lot of it has been defaced by war. It's just gone, completely gone. But this is a neat little collection I found. This is the Howard Crosby Butler Archive. There are 1,666 photos that you could look at if you wanted to. Now, unfortunately, fortunately you can. You can just click next. 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 But the thing that I want to impress upon you is we think of Syria and we think of war, and I don't know, I feel like it's presented in the news as some sort of feral backwater. And it's not. It has an incredible history, archaeology, culture, science, math. And, I mean, that's what happened to civilizations, right? They rise and they fall. This is what Syria used to look like back in the day. It was a very big deal because it was on the trade routes, the spice trail, goods, spices, slaves, salt. Salt was a big deal. It was pretty cool, right? Now I'm going to talk for a minute about my other hobby. And you might say, Laura, what's your other hobby? I'm about to tell you what my other hobby is. So my other hobby is that I very much enjoy medieval manuscripts. This is B&F Gallica. This is a place where you could go. You can look at manuscripts. You kind of have to know what you're looking for. It's not real easy to navigate. Once you do it a couple times, you kind of figure it out. It'll be in the links. You can poke around. But I want to show you how neat this is. So this is one single page. If we scroll in, we've got some guy doing, I don't know what. Some oxen. Looks like a prince wooing his queen. Just amazing. And if we go to a full-length one, even in here we can see, if we scroll in, we've got a little peacock, another bird. Look at the incredible color of this. So based on the cherub coming down, I'm thinking this is probably when Mary gets the news, hey, you're going to have God's son, just so you know. No big deal, But how cool is that? Just amazing. This is another example. This is Jerusalem, otherwise known as Jerusalem. And we can blow it up. Can we blow it up? No, I'm just changing pages. You can enlarge the pages. I hit the wrong thing. But then this is another page that I go to find fun medieval stuff. So this blog ended in 2018. So there's no more stuff. So what I'm basically doing is going back to 2009 and looking at everything. So like maybe once a week I'll go in and I'll look at a couple pages. And I just love the detail of these. Where's the other one? I want to go. No. Here we go. I mean, how cool is that? I find it very compelling. This might be my favorite. It's my new screensaver. Check it out. He's like, hello, my lady. Let me push you through the water. I used to have a deep and meaningful reason for anyone who asked why I worked on manuscripts until Loba made this gem. I just think they're neat. That's pretty much it. I think they're interesting. I think they're neat. Another thing I think is neat that I found out this week is rank badges. So government officials of the Ming and the Qing dynasty wore square badges sewn on the front of their robes. These badges were embroidered with birds for civil officials and animals for military officers, each creature corresponding to a specific rank. A symbol of authority and bravery, this tiger adorned the badge of a senior commander, rank 3 in the Ming, and that of a regimental vice commander, 4 in the Qing. And if we enlarge it, we can see the little embroidery. Now, all of these, they're starting to become quite collectible. Most of them, unfortunately, are in the hands of private collectors. They'll never, ever be seen. But there are some out there that we can see. So civil officials had birds as their insignia. This sold for $20,000 through Christie's. Certain species had, certain species of birds, so different birds had different meanings. Military badges. We have lion, leopards, tigers, bears, panthers, rhinoceros, and seahorse. Here are some examples. This one sold for $50,000. The imperial family would get dragon roundels, which was considered the highest rank. It's just incredible. How to distinguish king from king. If you're really into it, you can read and you can see kind of what the differences are. I was not aware of these rank badges, so I was kind of excited to see this. I always like to learn something new. We have a crane. So if we go to, what do we call these things again? Mandarin badges? Mandarin what? Mandarin squares. Let's go to Mandarin squares. Why am I yelling? No yelling. Let's go to shopping. You can always count on Google search to find stuff when you're shopping. It's kind of sad. 2,000, 1,000. Not a whole lot out there. These people could probably actually get more money for these. Sometimes I think I should go do consulting, tell people how to make the most money with their stuff. But then I'm like, and I remember how burnt out I got with stuff. My brain just can't handle it. I'm too fragile in that way. I can't have too much stuff. There's a limit to how much interesting stuff I can have in my head. Now, this is a preface. This is a foreshadowing to the next episode. We're going to be talking more about Africa. Now, today we're going to talk about the Richat structure again. We're going back to the Richat structure. We talked about it a while ago, but we're going back. But the thing that, just like Syria, Africa is just, I feel like I know nothing about Africa, and the history of Africa is just insane. Like, I want to show you, I think it's on the previous page. I mean, the people that post on here are just, they're doing God's work, right? They're posting, and I mean that colloquially, you know what I mean. I don't mean like literally like, it's Sunday. But we can start to see just oh, and I do have to warn you, there are background boobies, okay? So just so you know, background boobies. This is actually India. I'm not sure why that's in there, but it is. This is in Lagos. Look at this. Incredible. Look at that. Interestingly, those little round things up at the top are ostrich eggs. They put ostrich eggs on the top of their structure. This structure looks to me like a communal structure, and these look like individual structures. This is a kasar. What is a kasar? You might say it's a place where you would stop. If you were in the Sahara, you're transporting salt, you needed to stop for the night, feed your camel, take a nap, you would stop at a kasar. And these litter the Sahara Desert, at least the ones that we can see. There's probably much more underneath. And we're going to talk about the Sahara route. I'm going to show you what it looked like. Here's another kasar, fortified town or village near Timimoun, Algeria. Here is a very fancy one. This is a mix of 12th century and 17th century architecture. If you look at it, we could see this main entrance here. We could see that's the older stuff. This, definitely newer. But imagine, if you're going through the desert, you come across this, it would probably be a welcome sight indeed. You'd be like, oh, thank God, I'm so thirsty. And there are more pictures. It'll be in the link so that you can look at it. There's like a lot of pages. Now, unfortunately, and I think I brought this up last time, not all of these pictures are here. However, some of these pictures have turned up on Pinterest, of all places. So if you type in the diversity of early African architecture runes thread, Burkina Faso, you're going to get that picture that was missing. Some of these pages you can get through the Wayback Machine. The Wayback Machine is an archive place where you can put in. I'll show you. I'll show you what it looks like. So the Wayback Machine is as long as it was archived. You can go and see what it looked like. So we're going to browse, go back to the Wayback Machine, and then we can see in 2022, on the 27th, one snapshot. I'm not sure what I'm doing. Hold the phone. No, it didn't. It took out the error messages, but it didn't include the photos unless it's going to load. We'll let it go for a minute. Mr. Isaac Samuel wrote this incredible article, Monumentality, Power and Functionalism in Pre-Colonial African Architecture, a select look at 17 African monuments from 5 regional architectural styles. Nope, no picture. Okay, there is error message. And he goes into, like, we've got the Middle Nile. He goes into what it looked like, the Kingdom of Kush, which you might have heard of. Kingdom of Darfur. Architecture of the Horn of Africa. We've got some really old stuff here. And this person really knows their stuff. One of those famous rock-hewn churches. I think this is in Ethiopia. Yep, I'm right. It is in Ethiopia. This is what the inside looks like. So if you wanted to read about African architecture, this is some good. There's some really good stuff in here. It's very meaty and very well written. I enjoyed it very much. So thank you, Mr. Samuel. Now this morning while I was drinking my coffee, I started thinking about the origin of coffee, and I came across this article and I saved it. But then before I did this, I went and I read the article, and it's really kind of dumb and doesn't really tell you very much. What it tells you is that there was a shepherd and he had his goats and he's chilling, watching his goats eat. The goats they eat these red berries. This is in Yemen. No, this is in Ethiopia. And then the goats start going crazy. Ah! They get the zoomies. Ah, what are the zoomies? The zoomies are when an animal just like, oh, of course. So he said, oh, wow, what's this? And then that's just one story. Another story is that the berries were mixed with fat and eaten by hunters on long journeys in Africa. Another story is that a monk discovered it and then gave it to his other fellow monks, and they discovered, hey, we can drink this and we can party all night, or pray all night rather. This is Zoomies. This is a 10-minute video of animals just being silly. So enjoy. Oh, including an ostrich running down the street. That's something you don't see every day. And on the topic of drinks, let's talk about prison hooch. MRE, alcoholic. I'm looking up how to make alcohol from an MRE. MRE is a meals ready to eat. It's from the military. It comes in these pouches. You open it up and there's maybe dried fruit, crackers. But you can use an MRE. You can take, so you take the dehydrated fruit. You get the sugar packets. You get yourself a large water bottle. Place the crushed fruit powder in bottle. Add several sugar packets. Add fruit drink powder. 1 MRE bread. Fill 3/4 or a little better with water and shake. Then get a rubber glove from your medic and tightly rubber band the glove to the top of the bottle. Store in a cool, dark place. The yeast in the bread will activate with the sugar and start to ferment. The glove is needed to allow the gases to expand without allowing them to escape. Let sit for 2 to 4 weeks. Strain and mix with something that tastes better, such as Sprite. MRE Field Booze. Let's do top of all time for Hooch. Making a delicious wine using a variety of fruits and berries. Fermenting ham glaze. During Prohibition, America's winemaking industry found a clever way of sneaking around the law. Since grape juice was legal, they started selling concentrated grape juice known as wine bricks. They came with a warning that literally told people how to turn it into wine. The warning read, after dissolving the brick in a gallon of water, do not place the liquid in a jug away in the cupboard for 20 days because then it would turn into wine. Good stuff. All right. Are we ready for this? A little musical interlude.
Whistling on my mind. Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, hold on. Gotta turn this up. Sound quality's terrible. He's whistling with his throat. The back of his throat. He's contracting it. And whistling. Homeboy's wailing. Look at that kid. He's like, I could do that. That's wild, right? So he is the self-proclaimed world's greatest whistler. He is from Port Huron. And he likens the process to the reed on a saxophone or clarinet. He started doing it when he was 3, and he's a little bummed out that people aren't more excited about his talent. Okay, we're moving into the Richat structure. This is kind of a lot. But first, I have for you, for your enjoyment, the deep state chart. Someone made this, and it has all the different little, the military-industrial complex, Operation High Jump. We were talking about that, remember? Lockheed Martin, Vigilant Guardian, Antifa, North Korea. This is just a crazy conglomeration of all of the conspiracies that are floating around. I shouldn't say all. I'm sure there's some that haven't made it. That haven't made it to here. Something for you to enjoy. Remember a couple weeks ago I was talking about how I have this reoccurring dream that I'm like walking up this hill. Well, I found this picture this week randomly, and I was like, yeah, it was a hill just like this in my dream that I have once a month or a couple times a month. I'm walking up this hill with all of my belongings. It's very strange. I don't know that it's a past life or anything. It's, like I always say, it's something that just lodged itself in my subconscious, but it's pretty detailed. Like I can recall, like, this is in black and white, but in my mind, I can see the color. I can see the slight yellow redness of the soil, and yeah, interesting. Okay, Richat structure. I'm going to pronounce it Richat. I guess you could pronounce it Richat as well. I'm going to say Richat because it's probably a French person named it, I'm guessing. I'm not really sure. I did a very quick check to see where the name came from, and I didn't get very far. Now, part of the problem with studying the Sahara, I discovered personally, is that the names are different depending on what kind of map you look at. The names are different depending on what location the map was made for. Like, all the maps are different. They all have different names. So to try to find a place that is consistent across time on a map is difficult because it doesn't really stay the same. And the pronunciation changes, vowels change, things become, I don't want to say Americanized, but they become more homogenized to whatever the surrounding language is. This is what we're talking about, the Richat structure. Now, according to Jimmy Corsetti of Bright Insight, I think I got his name right, this used to be Atlantis. So there was ocean, came in through here. We have the concentric circles, and then this was Atlantis, and then the Maghreb lake, which was probably up here. I'll show you the ancient lakes in a minute. For some reason, burst its banks and flooded down. You can see the striations, and then took out Atlantis and swept everything into the ocean. That's the conspiracy theory. There's also these unknown structures in the area. We have undetermined structures. So this is near, somewhat near here. And I think there's a canal here too somewhere. Where did I see a canal? Was it up here? There's a video I'm about to pull up, and the guy talks about the canals. But let's look at some more stuff. So here we have the ancient lakes. This, if we look, the eye is right here. They even put it on the map for us. There's water all around. My thing is, I don't necessarily think that it was Atlantis, but I think that it was heavily populated, and I think it was probably a successful city at some point in Earth's history. Why would it not be? If there was water there and there were all these like kind of cool concentric circles, I'd want to live there. Wouldn't you want to live there? The only downside is that the water would not have been fresh. It would not have been drinkable. It would have been too salty. This area is pretty salty to begin with. Salt mining was a big thing in this area on the Sahara Caravan. Let's look at another thing. This is a local, I don't even know where the hell this map came from. But they show it with water in it. And they show this as a wadi. And what is a wadi? A wadi is an area that is low. And during the rainy season, the monsoon season, it fills up with water. Very salty water. Probably shallow, but water all the same. So if this area, this low-lying area, is filling up with what very little rain there is, it stands to reason that in a time when Sahara had more water and less sand, it was probably filled with water. The other reason why I included this is because it has the names of all these different places. And if we want to find out the history of the place, we have to get the names correct. So going back and forth through these names, Googling this name, that name, looking at other maps, you sort of start to get an idea of what's what and the lay of the land. Now, this is called the Surfboard of the Gods, interestingly, and this was found in the Richat structure. I do not think the platform that it's on was made in the Richat. I think it's just the surfboard thingy, but it was found. What was it for? What did it do? It's very beautiful. It's gracefully rounded. Here we have some arrowheads. That's to be expected. That's not that crazy. And lots and lots and lots of stone spheres. For what? Who knows? So when I'm talking about maps, this is the kind of thing I mean. Gualata region, Zanhaga, Fully, Hoden. The map I just showed you, it had completely different names than this. So it's like, how do you begin to figure out? Here we can see the ancient body of water that potentially filled that area. I'm spitballing, don't know. If we go to a map by Pliny, I think it was the Elder did this map. It's a sort of a different perspective, but we have Europe. It wraps around to Arabia, so they show it as like kind of a wrapping around. Then we have Africa, and if we look here on the very edge, it says Atlanteans. And it says Atlanteans just underneath the Atlas Mountains, which is where the Richat structure is. What does it mean? I don't know. Now this is what the underneath of the Richat structure looks like. So the Richat structure, when it was discovered in the 1950s, the two guys that discovered it said, wow, this must be an impact crater. And it was thought that it was a crater that hit, and then the little circles were like the impacts. And then it was studied just a little bit. And the scientists said, no, 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 it's an intrusion, not an extrusion. And here we have a picture of what that intrusion might look like. So you have hot magma coming up. So if you think of, if you took a soda bottle, filled it with like a sandy kind of sand and glue that was wet. You kept it wet, sort of like a cement mixer. And you had a bowl, and you cut a hole in the bowl, and you put some sort of valve so that it couldn't go back in, and you squeezed the sand. You went bloop, and it would go up, bloop, and it would form a crust, right? And then that would harden, and then it would bloop again, and then you would get another thing. Now, the thing that's really crazy is that this thing was formed before humans. So it's been around for a really long time. So why wouldn't people live there? It's a Cretaceous alkaline complex, late Proterozoic Ordovician. Now the thing that's interesting is that the late Proterozoic Ordovician is just on the verge of a massive extinction event. So this thing started to form right before a really big extinction, which is interesting. It has been the case of scientific debate about the origin of ring structures in the world. There have been several studies to define whether it was an impact structure or intrusive feature. This is what it looks like from the ground. Not very impressive, right? Just a bunch of rocks as far as the eye can see. It's located in the northwestern part of the Tao Deni Basin in the central part of the Mauritanian Adrar Plateaus, where it is expressed at the surface as a slightly elliptical depression about 40 kilometers in diameter, marked by concentric ridges of Proterozoic lower Paleozoic strata. Here we have some discussion, scientific discussion that you can kind of grab onto and read. So you say, well, why don't we just go out there? So we're talking about 445 million years ago is when all this happened. And then the extinction that happened right after killed 86% of marine animal species, 49 to 61% of genera, and 22 to 26% of families. It is also linked to the expansion of the ice sheets, global cooling, restriction of climatic belts, a fall and subsequent rise in sea level, changes in oceanic upwelling, and nutrient abundance. So everything like died, and then life came back. Now this place is not easy to get to. You can't just like bop in. First of all, there's like all war all over the place. Everybody's fighting everybody. So it's not very safe. Number one. Number two, it's in the middle of the desert. There's not a lot of places where you can stop. It's not like during the Sahara caravan. That was my cat. During the Sahara. Everybody okay over there? The Sahara caravan. There was less sand. Everything was more kind of open. But this is someone who has decided to go through this particular area. So I'm kind of going through his blog to see if he discusses the Richat structure. And he doesn't describe it directly, but he goes through the area. He passed through Windane, Chinguetti, Titicaca, and Tichet, and Ulata, which is kind of the area of where everything is. But the thing I like about this is he takes a lot of pictures, first of all. I like a lot of pictures. And he talks about the need for there to be study out here, the need for there to be grounded exploration. This is the Richat structure. We have rocks that are lined up. Why are they lined up? Where are they going? How far does that extend? These are people's houses. If we go to his next thing, and we look at some of the photos. Now there's an oasis near there, so this is near an oasis. This looks kind of cool, right? Put the blankets over to cover the sun just looks so unrelenting, right? Like, ah. Here we can see how the sand is encroaching on the structures, and I guess there's nothing you can do about it. It's happening. And these communities do not have the money or the ability to fight back against Mother Nature. With more money, they might be able to build a green belt. So there is a green belt initiative in the Sahara Desert, which they're trying to build a wall of trees across the whole thing. I don't know how far they've gotten with that. I should check into it. This is the caravan route. You can see we have salt around the area that we were just looking at, fruit, horses, dates, cotton, tools, slaves. We have slaves from this area. So the slaves were from the Sokono, I think the Sokono culture, but there were 4 million slaves at one point that were taken from here that ended up in Brazil. So Brazil is the number one importer of slaves. The United States, I think, is number two. We had 4 million in 1860. 4 million slaves in the United States, which is kind of a lot. Now, if we look at this beauty. It's amazing, right? My mind was blown when I saw all this. Now it gets even better. One of these towns, it was known as a scholar town, and that's where people would go to study. And there are ancient libraries there, kind of in the middle of nowhere. And here we have the keeper of the library, bibliothèque, which is French for library. It's incredible. The information that must be in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere, probably just crumbling into nothing. Fantastic photos. So, and then this is in the links. This is just going to be for you to look at your leisure. But these are some incredible pictures taken by another person who has gone to the area extensively, it would seem, and has a lot of insight about this area. Now we're going to talk to, so this is David Stig Hansen. Hi, David. And he's been doing stuff about the Richat structure.
The canal system for any concentric circles that existed here. There's a river that would have gone right through
so
here.
So he goes into the geography.
Yeah, what are we looking at here? Is that a canal right at the corner of the eye?
It's a canal. Looks like a canal, right?
Some evidence that this corner, this curve. Why is this curve the perfect circular arc? Is it because someone piled up some sand here to create a lake? A lake which could have fed a canal system of Atlantis. And I'll prove it to you. There's the arc. I call it.
So he's quite thorough. And then he has this other video where he talks about the parallel. Where is it? Shoot, guys, I messed it up. There it is. He talks about the parallel lines that you can see and different features that backs up this claim that there was definitely water here and there was definitely a catastrophic event that wiped this area clean, which is why very little is found. And what is found is more primitive, like, stone tools, and not the more high-tech stuff, which might be in the ocean right off the coast. I mean, if I was an archaeologist, that's what I would study. We're coming to the end, which is going to make my husband very happy because I can tell he's getting itchy. I threatened him, told him he needed to stay still and not say anything. This is something I found this week. This is armor for dogs. So when you take dogs hunting back in medieval days, you would throw them, put them in this armor so that they would be safe. I think I've shown this page before. It's just armor. I'm just in love. I'm in love with armor. Just, war does create beauty. Here we have a knife, like a Wolverine thing embedded in some sort of shoulder thing. So you get a shielded dueling gauntlet with folding blade. This is like the Swiss Army knife of a spiked dueling gauntlet. Look at that fancy helmet. This is a blued wheel lock pistol with rotating cylinder, fabulously decorated in gold. Wow, look at that thing. That's nuts. I'm saving that picture. This will be in the links for you to look at. So we are going to listen to some music as we close out and look at some stuff, just kind of bop around. I'm still unemployed. But I'm trying to keep my chin up. And hopefully next week I'll hear something, I'll know something. I don't do well being unemployed. So this is Syrian art. Oh, did I mess this up? What did I do? Kind of loud, right? Let's turn that down just a little bit. All right. There we go. There's the arrow. This is Syrian art. And this is just to back up what I was talking about earlier about the incredible history and culture of that area. These are completely random. This is anything that has the hashtag Syria. But when you look at it, you sort of get a sense of, like, yeah, this was serious peoples. Cradle of civilization and all that, right? That's incredible. I enjoyed looking at these pictures. Look at that. That's some terrace farming. That'll be in the links for you to enjoy. We're going to finish off with some more archaeology. So I'm trying to think if anything's new in my life, and I got nothing. I got nothing. Look at the pigeons. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a good week. Holiday tomorrow, right? President's Day. Time to go buy yourself a mattress. In case you don't know what I mean, that's an American thing. For some reason, they sell mattresses cheap around President's Day. I'm not sure how that happened or why that is, but look at that. Incredible, incredible photos. A lot of this stuff probably doesn't exist anymore. It's probably been destroyed. All right, folks, we've come to the end. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your interest. If you've subscribed, thank you for that too. And I will see you soon.